See ya.
We are live. Welcome to Boilers Extra. I'm Nathan Baird from the Indy Star.
Sam King from the Journal and Courier.
We are at the Simon Scott Assembly Hall. Purdue just lost 72-67. It's a third straight loss this season. It's a fourth loss in 5 tries for Purdue, I believe, in Bloomington. That encompasses the 5-year career of Trey Coffin-Wren. Fletcher Lord and Braden Smith go 1-3 in Bloomington, which I think is as you compile a legacy at a school for all they've accomplished, that's going to be part of it too. And this of the 3 losses, clearly the most concerning to me.
The 3 consecutive losses.
The 3 consecutively, correct. Yes. A game where they just got out toughed, got out hustled for long stretches of this game. A very streaky game, but IU streaks were more consequential.
Yeah, it seemed like Purdue, a thing that it really prides itself on a lot of times is getting to loose balls. Had obviously gotten much better at rebounding after starting the year, that being a question mark. And here as of late, granted, Illinois has athletes and bigger guys. That wasn't the case today. I thought Indiana just did a better job of poking balls away and then getting to them or hustling. And Purdue later in the game seemed to have more of a sense of urgency, but it wasn't there for 30 plus minutes. And by the time Purdue got to that point, it was chasing and a lot of that time trying to cut into a double-digit deficit. And you can't do that on the road. You can't fall behind by 14 points and then decide, okay, it's time to start playing. This was a game that Purdue led 23-19, I think, and IU called timeout with 7 minutes to go in the first half, immediately goes on a 15-2 run, and that's where the whole game turned. From there on, Purdue was chasing the rest of the way.
It was funny because I for people who follow us on Twitter, I usually do an update like at every media timeout, and it seemed like every time I did one, it was like one team or the other had just gone on a run, or Purdue would they'd have these streaks and then it would just kind of stop, and they could not ever really get anything strung together today. But I thought a lot of what you saw in the first half today, especially defensively, the personnel has changed so much over these last few games as far as who they're playing, but some of the same problems keep coming up no matter what the matchup is. And there were moments in this game that I thought are emblematic of a team that communicates poorly on defense, if it communicates, which sometimes it looks like it's not. Matt Painter was talking about that first 3 of the second half that IU hit, which was basically just don't leave that guy open, and they left him wide open. I'm forgetting who he was referencing at that point. There was the backdoor cut off the inbounds play where Purdue had that long possession. IU was going to get the inbound with 0.6 seconds left, sort of under their basket, and you're thinking, okay, well, that's an opportunity for Purdue, right? No, IU scores off of that. It ends up they foul him and get 2 free throws. There was a 3 late in this game when Purdue was had the chance to come back and tie or take the lead. They give up a 3 where one IU guy screens off 2 defenders and leaves somebody wide open. This team is just not – they talk about connectivity on defense when they're playing well on defense. This team is splintered defensively right now. I don't even know what other word to use. It's very fragmented defensively. That connectivity simply isn't there, and teams are exploiting it.
Yeah, and it was Connor Enright who hit that first 3 of the second half, and then Purdue gets it to 65-63 and immediately leaves Connor Enright wide open for a 3 that basically was the dagger in this one. It's the baffling thing to me is not the miscommunication. It's the fact that Purdue has these veteran players and 3 guys who have played every game together for the last 4 years, minus 2 games that Trey Coffin-Wren missed to start this season. And there seems to be some disconnect between those guys. The pick and roll was out of sync today for Smith and Kaufman-Wren, which used to be bread and butter. It was almost automatic last year. It was for a portion of this season, and teams are starting to either do a better job on it, on Purdue trying to run that action, or there just seems to be like guys aren't where Braden Smith expects them to be. Sometimes he blindly throws some passes, and it looks really nice when it works, but there was a time today where he was dribbling down, he just kind of threw it over his head backwards, and it sent everybody out of sync a little bit. I think that this is a team, and it was happening before the 3-game losing streak a little bit. You kind of started to sense that there were some things that were problematic But Purdue was able to kind of squeak out a win against USC, even though I don't think it played terribly in that game overall. It played terrible in stretches. Iowa, the way that game ended, Penn State was, some cause for concern a little bit. And now this is what happens when you get into Big Ten play, and those things kind of get maximized. And this, Purdue, despite as well as it played over the last 10 minutes, comes away with a third straight loss.
Sorry for those of you. Someone said there was no video, but now someone's saying the video just kicked in. So I'm both sorry about that, and now sorry that you have to see us, I guess.
We are in a basement here somewhere, so
yeah. Not a bad media setup here at IU compared to some historical norms, frankly. This was the most. So, okay, let's take each of these three games. UCLA, they're frustrated by some things that happened on a few possessions late in that game. And same thing against Illinois, right? Like they could have played those possessions better. This was a game where I felt like just throughout it wasn't there. I thought this was the best example so far of them like playing down to an opponent almost. I just don't think IU is that good. I don't look at IU and I'm not that impressed by much of what I see, quite frankly. I mean, I was impressed that they had the effort tonight that won. I thought, again, they out-efforted Purdue in some important ways tonight, but they didn't really blow me away talent-wise. I thought this was just a game where Purdue seemed listless. And this was the best example so far of like Matt Painter came in as frustrated as I've seen him
since this game last year. I think
maybe, yeah, at least that long, and maybe the most I've seen in the 2 years since I've been back. And I thought he said an important thing tonight, because I think he's seeing when a game like this, okay, you lose at UCLA, you lost a game on the road in the Big Ten to a team that had been underachieving, really good coach, you lost that game. You lose at home to Illinois, a top 10 team, when a guy has what might end up being, until the sun explodes and takes us all, how many years that'll be, the greatest visiting performance in the history of Mackey Arena. But tonight he said something along the lines of, this is too good of a team to be playing, to be potentially squandering what this season could be. Like he referenced that in a couple of different ways, that performances like this, like you may have already taken yourself out of Big Ten championship contention. Like you're only halfway through the season. You've got 3 losses. You really cannot you got no margin for error the rest of the season. And on a night where Michigan State got the scare of its season at Rutgers, but won in overtime, and Michigan pulls Nebraska down to that 1-loss rung. So now you've got that club of 1-loss teams, and Purdue is looking up at them from a couple losses away. So I don't know if a Big Ten championship is going to be in the cards for them, but there are things here, as I hope fans have been realizing now for a while, because we've been talking about it for a while. Like there are holes here that make that kind of national championship talk seem very distant, because especially from a defensive standpoint, this is not a special team defensively. This is an ordinary team at best, really, defensively, I think. And when you're talking about comparing them to the other best teams in the country.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the question mark all year. When Purdue lost at UCLA, kind of the talk coming out of that was, okay, maybe this is a good thing that, there's some adversity, and how Purdue responds to it is going to define its season. Then you get the Illinois loss on top of that, and still, all the goals are in play a little bit, but I really very much felt that Purdue had to go 3-0 in this stretch of Indiana, Maryland, Oregon to win the Big Ten. And now you're 0-1 in that stretch. The quote you were talking about, or one of them, that Matt Painter said after the game was, we have too good of a team. I've got it here somewhere. If we just come in here and they play lights out and they knock our socks off, that's that. But that wasn't the case. Basically, Purdue beat Purdue tonight. He kind of was referencing, without saying in those exact words, in some ways, a lot of opportunities that Purdue had to get this to 4 points or one possession, and each time it kind of squandered those opportunities. The one being Trey Kaufman-Renn having 3 shots right at the rim, and you come away with nothing. Indiana goes down, and Wilkerson scores on the other end. So that felt like a huge swing in the game, much more than 4 points, which was the actuality of it. But that was just kind of the night it was for Purdue. Every time it had an opportunity, it slipped through, and then Indiana would go down and capitalize on the fact that Purdue didn't take advantage of an opportunity.
Matt Painter is saying things after the game like, we've got to have guys with better resolve. Like, he's talking about we've got to find guys who will play for 40 minutes. He's really talking about defense for the most part still. And he's talking about things like rebounding. He's talking about things like effort. And for a team that is this veteran and this accomplished and this talented, and take away all those things, because it's not just a theory. We have seen it in practice this season. We saw this team go down to Alabama and win and control the last minutes of that game and win. We saw this team get on neutral court with the same Texas Tech team that can beat Houston and just thump it, just like wipe it out. What else am I forgetting? Like, there's been other examples this season of them going toe-to-toe with really good teams and being clearly the better team. And something is happening right now, whether it is what teams have figured out and how to attack them, or if it's just where this team has drifted. It's not that team right now. It's not the same team it was earlier this year. Auburn, it crushed Auburn, which was ranked at the time. I mean, just we've seen it in practice, and we've seen the things they're not doing right now in practice, or at least we thought we were. Now it makes it seem like, well, how much of that was real? How much of it was a mirage? That's only something that they can answer, and they have to answer it on the court.
Yeah. By the way, Nathan's battery here looks like it's on life support.
Yeah, we're not going to go very long tonight. It's also 12:30.
I thought it was interesting, the players who came in here, the emotion they showed after the Illinois loss. Trey Copeland-Wren said almost nothing. Braden Smith was kind of the spokesperson there, but it was pretty somber, and it seemed like emotional responses. And then today I felt like the team was more lax, just kind of almost defeated, which they were on the court, but almost perplexed a little bit, like what has just happened over these last 8 days here. You go from undefeated in the Big Ten to now you're in a 3-way tie for 6th, I think.
Yeah, I think some of that was also knowing this was their last. I thought something that was going to push them through tonight potentially was those 3 guys in particular, knowing this is our last chance to play in Bloomington. And right now we have an incomplete legacy as far as the head-to-head of this rivalry. They were 1-2 coming into this game. Again, I wouldn't put the other loss on Trey Copeland-Wren because he wasn't in uniform that year, but 1-2 coming into this, and now you're 1-3 against IU teams that really don't accomplish anything else except beating you. And that's 3 Indiana guys, 3 in-state guys who came in here, and I think some of that was maybe that realization starting to set in that they have accomplished a lot. They can still accomplish a lot this season, but that part of their careers is going to be in IU's favor forever.
Yeah, and there's also an IU win at Mackey Arena in that stretch. So that's probably even more deflating going back to that game. But again, this is not about one loss to Indiana. This is about kind of the turmoil that's taken place over the last 8 days here, and how Purdue really in a lot of ways I felt like was 2 or 3 plays away from winning the last 2 games. This one, while the score was close and Purdue had opportunities, Purdue just got flat out beat by a team that's not as talented as Purdue is. And maybe that's the most concerning thing out of this 3-game losing streak.
This is the last 6 games, the final 8 minutes of the first half. Penn State beat them 22-21. Iowa beat them 9-7. That's weird. I'm going to have to double check that. That is a really low scoring. And USC beat them 26-10. They beat UCLA 17-9, but did not win the end of the game against UCLA. They played Illinois at home to a tie in the last 8 minutes of the first half, 15-15. And tonight it was 21-11, the last 8 minutes of the first half. And they're losing games in the first halves or having to really dig out of those holes. Early on, they didn't lose those early games. They didn't lose to Penn State. They didn't lose to Iowa. But they weren't able to get any separation early in the game that made those games much closer, especially in the case of Penn State, than they should have been in the second half. And in the first half today, I thought the game was won and lost in the first half. Like, they just could never fully claw all the way back from the damage that happened in the first half.
Yeah, you're down 11 at halftime, and Purdue, as good as it is offensively, didn't break 50 in this game until I think 8 minutes to go, somewhere around there. now twice in the last 3 games that Purdue's finished with 67 points. 3 times in the last 4 games it's been under 70, and before that it only happened once all season. It was against Iowa State.
Yeah, and I think when you're on the road, as good as this team is offensively, we do have to wrap up quick because I think this computer's going to die. As good as this team is offensively, you have to give yourself a little bit of wiggle room on the road as shooters. Like, you can't assume that you're going to come in and just shoot the lights out. Even in the gym you've played in a few times, I think you want to give yourself some margin for error there. So that means you don't turn the ball over 7 times in the first half. You don't go 8 of 15 at the free throw line. I mean, all of those things loomed really large in a game that you only lose by 5, and it was really a 1-possession game before you have to put them on the line late, right? Like, that I think was the game as much as anything else.
Yeah, and we're going to get out of here before the computer dies, and it's late, and we've got work to do still. So we'll get back with you before the Maryland game, I'm sure, and probably Friday. Purdue, I think, has availability. That'll be a good chance to learn what has happened in 3 days since this. So maybe that's a good day for us to catch up. We'll try to do that then. But for now, I think Nathan would like to plug his computer in so he can continue doing his job.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, and we will talk to you again soon.